Bitcoin has exactly 21 million coins, no more, no less. But could that change? Could there be something that tweaks the code and for some reason makes it all fall apart? Technically, yes. Realistically, no. Stick with me and you'll find out why. Okay, today let's talk about why is it that there cannot be more than 21 million Bitcoins. As you know, this is something that is hard-coded into the Bitcoin code, and it's what drives its value proposition, its scarcity, basically. Now, if that supply ceiling could be surpassed, the whole Bitcoin value proposition will fall apart as well. So why is it that it's so hard to change it? And why is it that everyone is fearful about the prospect of that happening? I'm here to tell you the reality is that it's because of lack of knowledge. The reality is that Bitcoin is decentralized, so for it to change, several things need to happen with it. In this case, there are 4 things that will need to happen for the supply cap to be modified. So, point number 1, you need to understand that Bitcoin is not only decentralized, but it's also open source, meaning you can get to a GitHub repository. For those of you that know about software development, this is where there are a lot of open source projects. For those of you that don't, that's exactly what it is. There you have all the files, all the code, all the things that represent basically the Bitcoin project. And when and if there is any kind of modification, it is not something that just gets modified there. It starts with what is called a BIP, a Bitcoin Improvement Proposal. Once again, a BIP, a Bitcoin Improvement Proposal. So these BIPs are submitted by anyone, by users of the Bitcoin network, or just developers, enthusiasts that want to improve the Bitcoin blockchain, and they submit their improvements. Now, imagine that someone wanted to modify the 21 million supply cap. They will need to submit a BIP that basically justifies what kind of modifications to the code they want to include. In this case, everyone that is part of the Bitcoin developer community will need to agree that this is in fact, yes, a Bitcoin improvement proposal that we want to implement. They will need to actually go ahead and implement the code. And basically that's the second part that needs to happen, which is not only for the Bitcoin implementation proposal to get approved, but by the Bitcoin developers to actually take on that Bitcoin improvement proposal and start coding it, start implementing it in the open source repository, and start translating it into what is called a Bitcoin Core software release. This is the actual package that then the miners, the node operators, and basically the entire network start consuming and updating to run their own operation. So imagine that first, there needs to be a Bitcoin improvement proposal that is approved by everyone. Then the developers that are in charge, and by the way, this is an open community as well. It's not a team that is paid by any company, any CEO. Those developers will need to reach consensus to actually implement, test, and release the software version that contains this increment of the Bitcoin supply. And then 3, the miners. The miners are basically these players within the Bitcoin blockchain that are competing every 10 minutes to basically certify a new block in the Bitcoin blockchain that hopefully grants them a Bitcoin block reward, which today is 3.125 new Bitcoins. Now, imagine that you're a miner, you're spending your electric power, you have purchased some ASICs or some very powerful equipment basically to use that electricity, be part of a mining pool, and hopefully get some profit out of that. That profit is likely going to be in the form of new Bitcoin that didn't exist before in the network, and transaction fees, of course. So do you really think that the miners, whose entire business model is to profit out of the value that the Bitcoin that they mine generates are going to ever accept a version of a Bitcoin Core release that increases the supply of their whole business. No. So third entity that will need to be involved in this whole thing. And fourth and last, basically, the node operators. There are folks out there that are not even running or competing for generating new Bitcoins. These are just enthusiasts. You can actually be one of them and download the entire Bitcoin blockchain into your computer. You can have your own node. It doesn't take anything but some space and a computer with an internet connection. But at the end of the day, the nodes are those that certify and validate the validity of those blocks that the miners are claiming are now valid and certified. So the nodes certify the entire blockchain. And again, if they don't accept the new use case, if they don't accept this increment of the Bitcoin supply, they don't have to continue with that chain. They can stick around with the old chain and ignore basically these modifications. So in order for the 21 million supply of Bitcoin to be increased, there will need to be four things to happen. One, the Bitcoin implementation proposal to be approved in an open source and decentralized and consensus-like fashion. Then two, the Bitcoin Core developers will need to implement that, test that, validate it in a test network, release it. Then three, the miners will need to agree to adopt that. And then four, the node operators and the entirety of the users will need to agree that the value proposition of Bitcoin and its 21 million supply cap, let's just modify it. So could it technically change? Yeah. Will it ever be the case? No. Why? It's impossible to reach this kind of consensus, especially now that we have ETFs, nation states, companies, and basically worldwide interest in protecting, shielding, and keeping this network secure. Okay, so what do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Make sure to like and subscribe to make this project bigger, and I'll see you on the next one.